Hey folks, Kyle here at Ace in the Desert, and welcome back to yet another video. So today I thought we'd do another of these new learning series topics. If you haven't seen the first video, it's already out. It's on going through an invention card advanced. Whoops. And basically what I'm doing with this series is I thought I'm trying to get another wider variety of videos on the channel. I thought we'd cover some common topics that like people want to hear about. So for today, I thought we'd do a simple one. We do one of the beginner series ones on my list. I'm going kind of very out of order. They'll be very out of order on the channel anyway. You know, people view in whatever order they want. So we're just gonna go through the list. Today we're gonna just focus on a basic beginner topic. We're gonna talk about opening the hand. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So I've maybe shared part of this deck before. I've had different versions of it. Um, I might have published a video with a version of this PowerPoint last year. This is my series of teaching slides I used to teach new players. I taught a beginner class to a bunch of middle school and high school kids about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And this is kind of the deck I've used. I update it every once in a while. So if this looks familiar for you and you found the older video on the channel, you know, up to you if you want to watch this again, but maybe you'll hear, maybe the evolved Kyle of today will have more interesting, insightful thoughts to teach you about opening the bidding and bridge. So this is meant to be a beginner video, just how to think about opening a hand, and just try to keep it pretty simple. So let's get into it. And the way I have, I'm going to have 4 of these videos, one basically for each role in bidding. So we got the opener, the person that opens the hand. We have their partner responder. Responder's role is often different. Opener's role is often to describe their hand. Responder's role is to help partner describe their hand and kind of have a conversation. And then there's get into some competitive bidding. So what if they've opened and you want to get in the auction? That's the role of overcaller. And we call advancer the 4th role, which is like the responder to an opener, but for a partner that's overcalled rather than opened, we call that advancer. So these are kind of like the 4 different like hats you can wear in an auction. And there's different implications for each. So I thought today we're going to spend some time on opener. I'll get those other videos out for you eventually. So the first question we ask is kind of like, what's the point of bidding? What does bidding actually do in bridge? It's kind of a weird abstract question. If you've played a lot of bridge, you're very used to it just being one of the 2 main parts of a hand or a deal. And basically it determines, who plays the hand, who's defending, who sits out the hand as dummy. It sets tricks to be taken, which has a lot to do with scoring in the abstract. It sets strain, which can be very important. Strain itself can and definitely like the level of the contract and all these scoring things, as well as strain can like drastically set the stakes of the hand. Like sometimes, it unilaterally makes or breaks the hand. If you're in like a doubled contract and go for 1,700, there's probably no recovery from there. But often, like if you're in one of these middling part scorer, ish territory where you're fighting, plus 110 versus minus 100 versus plus 100 plus 150. If you could have competed one level higher, these are very like interesting and abstract decisions here that can really matter a lot. Strain really matters a lot, as we've talked about. It's often if you have a lot of points, you can play multiple strains. If you're playing match points, you probably want to play in a major, but maybe the minor has more control and is easier to play the hand. So we have like handling issues versus, desire for different scoring bonuses are really interesting. And the most important thing, especially in like a very advanced setting where you're playing against good players and not just kind of like random beginners and things, is it's the source of all the pre-play information. Like good players are always making intelligent decisions, and as you improve at bridge, you can read that information and actually make like competent decisions yourself based on what you understand their decisions are making. So there's a lot of bridge leveling to some extent, based on like what you know of your opponents, their style, what kind of things they may or may not do, and it really is a wealth of information if you know how to take advantage of it. So let's get a further bit into it. So now I have things to think about when opening the bidding. These are just like generic things I think about when I first pick up a hand. So you care about the general strength. We want to look at our pattern. So I play a lot of relay systems these days, and that's really changed my thinking. You have common patterns like 4-4-3-2, 5-3-3-2, short 2 suitors like 5-4-3-1. You occasionally get like the most common, like long two suitors are like 5-5-2-1. All these different hand patterns, different suits. When you have high ranking suits as your longest suit versus another suit like five hearts, four spades is often a problem hand for people. So we think about our lengths and our suit distributions. And when I open the bidding, so like on a basic level, the first thing you really have to do is like figure out what's your first bid, what's your second bid. And often it's going to be a function of the length in your hand. So like if you have a one suited hand, you're going to bid your suit. You're going to bid your suit again. If you have a two suited hand, you're going to bid your suit, and you're going to bid your second suit next probably. But then there's all these other fun things like what if you're a minimum like with a good 6-card suit and a bad 4-card suit? Do you rebid the 6-card suit? Is it a major? What are the lengths of your different suit? Did partner say something in the auction? These things get very interesting fast. Three suited hands are interesting because it's kind of like balanced ish, but like not really because you have some shortness and you have to be mindful of your weaknesses. Those don't come up very often, but they're interesting tip hands. Then we have the most common hand in bridge, the balanced hand that not everyone loves. 4-4-3-2, often don't have a source of tricks. It's often about just like general power and maneuvering. A balanced hand is often protected. You have some protection because often your values are distributed evenly between your four suits. So balanced hands aren't necessarily bad to have on like defense. Necessarily, if you have concentration of values a little bit everywhere, but it's kind of a concentration of all master of none type hand, and these can be very difficult hands to think about and deal with. So specifically for balanced hands, when you open the bidding, you're going to want to often bid some sort of no trump, but like sometimes you may not have stoppers in their suits if they're competing. So it's like, how do you show different strength ranges of balanced? How do you show a 5-card suit if you're balanced? Is a 5-3-3-2 hand even considered balanced? For relay purposes, we don't consider 5-3-3-2 balanced, but in modern day, I think we often consider no singleton or void balance. So most 5-3-3-2s are considered balanced. Most 4-4-3-2s are considered balanced. 4-3-3 are considered like total garbage balanced. I think some people are even opening like 6 minor 3-2-2. One no some of the time when it's right because they have trouble. Depending on suit quality and other factors of the hand, you may want to treat that as balanced. So, like, what is a balanced hand? Like these lines blur. It's a very interesting thing. So often we're thinking about our first and second rebid. We kind of talked about what this might look like. I have a chart I think coming up in a page or two where we'll talk a little bit more about it. Where your concentration of values are. Now for me, I'm like more of a pattern bidder. So like, when I think about bidding, it's often about describing the shape and strength of my hand rather than where the specific concentration of values are. Certainly, this matters. Like once you've agreed a suit and you're trying to find level. But for finding initial strain, you often ignore like where your specific values are until later in a bidding sequence. And then what's our weakness? This also matters. Sometimes your weakness is a strength. For example, if you don't have much in like clubs here in this hand, and partner's whole hand is like nothing in clubs either, or like ace 4 for clubs, that's great. If partner's whole hand is like king jack 10 of clubs, like that's gonna be lost value because like are we ever really setting up that suit? So these are things you think about too as you get. These are more like deeper level things as you get deeper in the auction that you think more about. This is more like surface level, like strength of the hand and pattern. These are like the first things you think about. So let's get into the next thing. So this is a nice little chart. I got this from a professor from Austin College. This was a very popular like diagram when I was teaching for some of my when I was teaching back College Bridge at Northwestern when I was a student there. We like to use this tool sometimes to teach beginners. I got it from my friend. I think I got this from Hakan Burke, who taught this to some like kids in Maryland, and these are public materials that were listed by this professor at Austin College, Trusette Gates, that was teaching like some classes to kids and things. So I found this awesome diagram. It's a pretty good diagram. So he recommends basically this diagram is just how to categorize like how you pick your opening bid, and also start to think maybe a little bit what your rebid is. So a big thing that people often don't think about when they first pick up a hand is are you balanced or unbalanced, and that's one good schema you can use to definitely start to think about your hand. When I show a new hand to players, like if you're unbalanced hands are actually pretty intuitive to bid. You often open your longest suit. Often just when you're unbalanced, i.e. you have a singleton or void or two doubletons, you often just open your longest suit. It's pretty easy. If you're equal in two, if you have two 5-card suits, you often open the higher ranking one so that you can easily rebid into the second one. And then the weird one is like these weird 3-suiters. Like you're kind of forced to open your minor. Normally you open, if you're 4-4 in like diamonds and clubs, you're often going to open a diamond. And this is because we play like 5-card majors. You have to open. You can't open a 5-card. You can't open a 4-card major. So in normal U.S. standard, you just between two minors of equal length. If you're 4-4 in diamonds and clubs, you're often open a diamond. If you're 3-3 in clubs and diamonds and you're forced to open a suit, you often open a club to stay lower because neither are real suits. But often, really, if you're unbalanced, you often just have a 5-card suit. You're going to open that. And ties go high, you open your higher one just so you don't have to like awkwardly, you want to just easily be able to rebid your second suit. And it's often easier to open the higher ranking than the lower ranking run because it saves space. If you open like a diamond and a partner bids a spade and you have to bid 2 hearts, now partner has to preference diamonds at the 3 level. Whereas if you opened a heart and you heard a spade, now you can bid 2 diamonds and you save like 6 steps of space, and that's very useful. Is it 6 steps? It's 4, right? Hearts, spades, large spades, no trump clubs. No, it's 5 steps. But you know what I mean. I should know how to count. Counting's hard. And then for these balanced hands, they're often more difficult. If you go into like one of these special buckets, like 15 or 17 or 20, 21, you open that. If not, you have to kind of pretend your hand's unbalanced for a bit and open your longest suit. Usually a 5-card major if you have one, but if you're like a 4-4-3-2, you won't have a 5-card major, so you're often going to open your longer minor. And which minor you open, people play different things. If you're 4-4, again, when you're 4-4 in the minors, they're both real suits, so it's nice to open a diamond so that you can easily potentially rebid into clubs if you have to. Normally you're going to rebid into 1-0, of course, but it's nice to leave that option open for yourself. To show clubs since they're below diamonds. And then if you're kind of fake, if you have 2 fake suits like 3-3, like you have at least one 4-card major. You always have at least one 4-card suit, so it's best to just open a club and save space so that maybe you can get your 4-card major in later. These things helps. But often if one minor is longer, you just open that because you don't have a 5-card major. So this is a nice little diagram. I think it's a helpful tool. It's what it is. And then other things on this checklist I have on the side, you want opening strength, which is usually 12 points we teach beginners. I'm not going to get into too much about hand evaluation and opening light in this video, but I can definitely do a video on that in the future if that interests you. You can let me know in the comments or something. On number 2, checkpoint 2, balanced or unbalanced we talked about, and then picking your opening bid, which is often going to be like open your long suit if you're unbalanced. If you're balanced, you're gonna pick the best lie, and then planning that rebid. So like, are you from your minor? Are you gonna rebid 1 no trump because you're balanced and you're like 12 to 14 or 18 to 19? One of these things that aren't in these set ranges. If you're open, you're unbalanced. Your 5-card major or your 5-card suit. Can you bid your secondary 4-card suit? Are you gonna rebid your long 6-card suit? These are things I was talking about in the last slide. So that's good. So then what are opening bids? What do they mean? This was a slide, again, from like my beginner deck. Basically, in standard American or like 2/1, which is like common US standard, we play 5-card majors. So one major promises 5. One minor usually promises 4, but can occasionally be 3 because there's some ugly balanced hands, 4-4 majors, where you have to open a 3-card minor. 1 no, 15 to 17 balanced. 2 clubs conventional. Any game force or near game force should be any game force on balanced hand, or near game force balanced hand or better. And then we play these higher bids as weak 2s, except for 2 no, which is 20 to 21 balanced. And then higher are just more preempts, longer suits than these 2-level preempts. And specifically clubs, you need 3 clubs as your first club preempt. And then you'll notice on the slide I kind of have parsed out into like these balanced ranges, and that's really like the second underlying factor. So if you're unbalanced, you open your 5-card suit or occasionally a 4-card suit. If you're balanced, you have to lie and open the best suit by parameters of minimum length, and then you're gonna rebid 1 no or 2 no, which is kind of what all these like fun little split ranges things are. So like all of these opening bids in theory are unbalanced by their minimum length, or 12 to 14, 18 to 19. So like that's kind of how I break this up. Hopefully this makes sense. It's just a quick look at like what are your opening bids in standard. And then I guess I have why, I guess like just bring in like why is one no that range? Why does a major promise 5? Why can a minor be 3? Like these seem like weird and arbitrary rules that we make new players memorize, and it seems kind of dumb at times. Well, the one no range is kind of set because one no is a hard balanced hands are hard hand to describe, and we don't want to overload one no with too many hand types. We arbitrarily chose a 3-point range. In 15 to 17, historically, is kind of become the current range. It used to be like 16 to 18, I think, going back. But like, we've basically broken everything into like 3-point ranges. So like your opening no trump range, which is often like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We break them more into like more nuanced ranges the higher we get, because the lower ones are more frequency, and we want to have a common bid for those. The closer you are to average hiker point, the more likely these are to come up. It turns out, 3-point ranges are generally easy to handle. Some people try a 4-point range in their bid, which is totally fine. Some experts play like a 3.5-point range, which is becoming more common. But basically, like, balanced hands are hard to describe. We can't open all balanced hands one no. There's just not enough room. One no takes up so much space. So arbitrarily, in standard, we've chosen to take kind of like the next step above a minimum into one no, because that's a common enough frequency, and it's kind of a hard hand. It's a hand that actually has trouble competing, like 15 to 17 balanced, if you like opened it one of something, because it's not like quite strong enough that it shuts people out of the auction. But it's like also just like a good strong hand, so it's nice to play that. That's like traditionally why we kind of play one no that range. People have played weak no trump, and flipped it. You can certainly experiment yourself what you like. And then why is one major 5+ cards? Well, in the old days, like I think in like standard Goran days, you open your 4-card major, and if you're like 2 4-card major, I think you open like the one below your doubleton to make it easier to rebid in a competitive auction. I have never played like classic Goran, but that's what I remember from reading. Like I have one of the old Goran books, and I was kind of reading through like why the hell did they play 4-card majors? And if you look at like really old like Goran, like 1930s, 40s, like 50s bridge, their bidding systems are like very inelegant, and they really struggle with these competitive auctions because they played like very firm openings in these days. People didn't bid light and on crap. So you had much more room to like maneuver and kind of F around, and so like some of their bigger balanced hands, you would just bid, 4-card. You just always open your 4-card suit and like kind of stumble around, and that kind of made sense when bridge is first being invented, and you're trying to figure out like what's a good communication system. It seems sense to always open your longest suit, but like the 5-card major style, is actually just nicer for pattern bidding, honestly. It's easier to like describe your links and holdings in the auction, and like more of modern bridge has like transformed towards pattern bidding, I would say. Like finding features has found that like length in suits is actually more important than anything else, than like concentration of values, or that kind of thing. So like that's kind of why we play 5-card majors. If that's not a satisfying answer, you can start with 4-card majors and see what you like and don't like, and try all of that. There's a version of 4-card majors called A Call. I'm not sure of the difference between A Call and like standard Goran. A Call is a lot more sophisticated and better. It's very common in like the UK and like parts of Europe. I don't really know all the differences of 4-card majors because I've never played a 4-card major system except a canopy system, which is a very different kind of 4-card major system. But you can certainly try it. It's played in some parts of the world. I would say it's less common among experts. Most experts play a standard system, so why not you? You should start with the best, and if you want to win more. Most people play 5-card majors. Hopefully that's a little food for thought. And then why is a minor only 3+ cards? Why would you open your 3-card suit when you have a nice 4-card major or whatever? It's kind of the same as what we're saying. It's just like these negative inferences are really powerful in terms of like what things promise. So if you're going to play pure 5-card majors, you're going to have to open the converse of that is if you can never open a 4-card major, you might have to open a 3-card suit. Because the most common like pattern that doesn't have a the only pattern that doesn't have a 5 card suit is 4-4-3-2 or 4-3-3. And so, you're just gonna have to open a 3 card suit. And some people even go more extreme and they're willing to even open like a doubleton club. They're willing to play any 4-4-3-2 or 4-3-3. Might open a club if it's in a certain strength range of balanced with no 5 card major, um, no 5 card suit. So like some people play like 4-4-3-2, 3 diamonds, 2 clubs, opens a club, um, and that's really fine. Some people do it even more extreme. They might open some of their like 5-3-3-2s, like 5 diamonds. They might open those a club because they want a diamond to be unbalanced. People do weird things like that. All power to them. These are just things you can think about, but standard is to just open your most natural-ish bid of what you can. So 3 card minors. Moving on. So this is just a quiz time. These are taken from Richard Pavlicek's website. He's a great expert. Has lots of great educational material on the site. I suggest you check it out. But like, here's like some hands, like what might you open this hand, what might you think about it. So hand 1, we pick up a 16 count. Let's see, is it 16? I can't count. 17, 7, 10, 11, 16. Yes, I'm tired. Sorry, I don't think but while I'm morning. 16 count, 4-3-3. So we're gonna open this one no because it splits in the 15 to 17 range. If we were a weaker hand, we would have to open a minor because we can't open a 4 card major. So we probably open this a club because we're 3-3 in diamonds and clubs. On the next hand, we're semi-balanced, 5-4-2-2. Semi-balanced hands we just treat as unbalanced for the purposes of beginning. For like this beginner lesson, you might usually hands of a 5 card major, 5 major 4-2-2. You never treat as balanced anyway. But we would open this. Sorry, this hand's too light to open because it's a 10 count. So we'd probably pass this, for example, but if we had the strength to open this, we might open this spade and rebid 2 diamonds, for example, because we can rebid 2 diamonds to pretty much anything partner does. Unless they raise spades, then we're probably just playing 2 spades. But we're not responding yet. Number 3, I know this image got smaller. 13 count, so we can't open a 4 card major. We're gonna open a club because it's our longer minor, so there's not even a choice. And then, we're going to rebid. We're going to raise the major probably if partner has one, or rebid one no. This bottom one is a 12 count. We're 5-5 at the minors. And with 5-5 and 2 suits, you often open the higher ranking one so we can more easily rebid into the clubs. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's the next one. 17. Some people might upgrade this to a diamond and rebid 2 no. If you're gonna treat this as like pure 17, you can open this one no. This is really just judgment and like what your partnership does. Again, not focusing too much on upgrades in this video. The next one, 8, 9, 13, 17. Similar story. We're gonna open a spade and then we can decide to rebid 2 or 3 hearts. Is generally the plan. Depending on partnership style, you're probably not going to rebid 2 no with both majors, but maybe you want to protect the king of clubs or something. These things are flexible depending on what's going on. There are fun conventions you can play where you can save space and you don't have to actually bid your hearts right away, like Gazilli. Yeah, good stuff. Not things covered in this video. I'm gonna keep saying that a lot because I have a lot of fun gadgets for rebids. And then the last part of this video I want to just cover is just thinking about your rebid. So I've talked about, like different patterns and like where you're going to rebid. But it's actually a little bit more complex than that because your rebid actually is a function of like what partner does. And this is all just, these slides kind of assume an uninterrupted auction for now, just kind of like planning your standard. But things obviously change in the competitive jungle. But for a non-competitive auction, you're going to have a planned rebid, but your rebid may completely change based on what your partner does. So if you're unbalanced for planning or rebid, let's say we open a club and partner bids a heart and we're like 4-4-3-2, 12 count, we're planning on rebidding one no. But let's say we have hearts. This is for unbalanced hands. So let's say I have five hearts and 4 spades. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a good hand. Okay, let's say I have 5 hearts and like 4 clubs. It goes a heart. My priority over like a one no bid rebid or one spade rebid was going to be to rebid 2 clubs. Um, but okay, this is sort of a stupid example, but like so raising partners too. Okay, so let's say I have 5 hearts and 4 spades. Um, I guess this doesn't apply very much. I guess this is mostly for like minors. So I open a 5 card mine. I have 5 hearts and um, I have 5 diamonds and four. I have 5 diamonds. Let's say I have 5 hearts, 5 diamonds, 4 hearts, 4 spades is like a weird hand. It's a 5 4 4. It's one of those weird 3 suiters. I open a diamond. I'm probably planning on rebidding a heart, but let's say partner bids a spade. Now we're gonna prioritize raising spades because that's partner suit. Our second priority is to show a new suit. So like let's say I this time I have 5 hearts and 4 clubs, and it goes a heart, a spade. 5 hearts, yeah. I can't raise spades because I don't have spades, but my next priority would be to rebid my diamonds. And the third priority is if you don't have, so these are for like your single suitors, is if you don't have a new suit you could show easily and you can't raise partner suit, and you're unbalanced, you're gonna just like rebid your suit. So like these are often your hands of like a 6 card major. And then other considerations are usually rebidding as cheaply as possible. This gets into like reverses. So let's say I have like 5 diamonds, 4 hearts, and it goes a diamond, a spade. Um, we can't bid hearts anymore. Like a spade often denies 4 hearts. So we're often not going to bid 2 hearts when partner's already denied 4 hearts. So like things like this is where things get complicated and you get into more complex bidding things like jump shifts and reverses, which often show extras, usually game forcing values. Sorry, my nose is getting stuffed up. So that's what this is kind of getting into. Not covered in the scope of this video, but definitely jump shifts and reverses are kind of like the first big thing once you understand pattern. But we're just assuming, like, how do you think about pattern? It's really what this, and like how to think about your initial bid is more what this video is about than showing like describing the strength of your hand, which is kind of the next level on top of like opening the bidding. Like, how do you show not just the shape of your hand, but the strength of your hand? And that gets into like what jumps show, what a reverse shows. Raising partner suit, do I raise to 1 level or 2 levels? Like, this is kind of the next level on top of all this, is kind of the next thing you should be working on once you understand all this. And then if you're balanced, it's pretty simple. You're often going to like rebid different balance ranges. If we open a minor and partner bids a major that we have an 8 card fit in, you're going to raise the major rather than just make your plan like no trumpy rebid. And then this is just kind of like balance hands. We're often breaking it up into different 3 or 2 point ranges. So 15 to 17 and 20, 21 have opening bids, so we don't really have to worry about planning our rebid because we're going to describe it in one action. But if we're like particularly 1 no or 2 no opening, or we're like the really strong 22 plus, you have to think a little bit about how you want the auction to go. So that's just worth keeping in mind. And so that's the end of this topic. I hope you really enjoyed this video. This is just me thinking about system theory and like how to describe a hand and all these wonderful things. Maybe this kind of video is kind of inspiring me to maybe do a follow-up about like showing the strength of your hand and like the different things. That could definitely be a topic. But I hope you learned something from this video. This video was aimed for new players, but even just like general, like how to think about a hand, there's something to gain, for anyone really, like if you want to improve your bridge and how to think about, viewing an opening hand. So thanks for watching today's video. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. Take care.